Hi friends, I'm Les Mood, your host. Welcome to the Destination for Innovation series, brought to you through a partnership between the City of Bakersfield and Green Tech Network. Today we have an entrepreneur with us in the energy industry, actually a local company that moved to Bakersfield, Kemp Gregory. Welcome to the show.
Thanks very much, happy to be here.
You know, Kemp, I'm curious, can you share something, a little bit about yourself and maybe something that the world doesn't know about you?
Yeah, I guess the fact that I'd like to talk about is I'm a major history nerd. It has nothing to do with energy. But I love all things history. I'm always reading a history book of one flavor or another. And I'm a big bibliophile, I guess.
Well, you know, history, energy is an important part of history, right? And in your history, can you share where this journey began as an entrepreneur in the energy industry?
My journey began when I was 17 years old working for my dad in his automotive repair shop. I thought cars were the coolest thing on the planet. That's what I wanted to do. So I went to UT Austin, studied mechanical engineering. I was dead set on being an automotive engineer, one stripe or another. Had an internship for Ford, loved it, and then didn't love it, wanted to do something else. So I did wind energy, loved it until I didn't love it, but that was actually with Shell. And so that's when I learned about all the work Shell was doing in West Texas around hydraulic fracturing, and I wanted to be involved in that. So that sort of kicked off what became the next 5 years of my professional career, was working for Shell in West Texas, Canada, and Argentina.
Absolutely. So, you know, you moved here from Texas, you're here at Bakersfield now. What are you doing these days in the energy industry?
Yeah, so my new path is placed me at the heart of the idle well and energy storage nexus, which is not a combination that most people think about much. But at Renewell, we are convinced that both problems can have one solution. And that one solution is converting idle wells into gravity-based energy storage using a weight, a winch, and a wire.
I like the 3 W's. That's really cool. So can you tell us, you know, along your journey, maybe some struggles, some triumphs, maybe associated with those struggles that you could point to?
Yeah, I think every college student has a lot of trouble starting the first sentence of a paper. Every entrepreneur has a lot of trouble taking that first step. What do we do first? And so that for us was like, well, do we build a prototype this big? Do we build a prototype this big? Do we build a prototype this big? And we ended up building a prototype, you know, much bigger than all the previous ideas, but going through those iterations was one of the biggest challenges. Where do we start? Where do we find the money to do all of that work? Luckily, we found ways to make it all happen. But yeah, that very first step, what do we build and where do we put it? Those were some of the big challenges. We ended up building the prototype in Texas and then putting it on a well in California.
Well, it actually is kind of appropriate that you built a bigger prototype than you expected. You were in Texas, right? Everything is bigger.
Yeah, some sort of subconscious adherence to the proverb.
Right. So in that experience, maybe others, do you have some advice you'd like to share with maybe this community here in Bakersfield or the broader community?
This advice applies to local entrepreneurs anywhere in the US, anywhere in the world. I would say find a good partner. My co-founder, Stefan Streckfuss, you know, it wouldn't be possible without the teamwork that we put together in order to make it all happen. You know, picking each other up when the other is down, providing fresh ideas and motivation when you need it most. I would say find the right partner.
Okay, so the next part of this conversation is really kind of a thought experiment where we cast away all of the limitations, the roadblocks, the hurdles that we might have in our mind as far as an energy transformation goes. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question is rather easy. It's, you know, what kind of low-hanging fruit can people bite into as professionals, as a society, to really make a difference in the world?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of attention around methane lately. So that's sort of zooming in on one small issue of the overall climate discussion. So as most people may or may not know, methane has an outsized impact on the amount of heat that our atmosphere traps compared to CO2. So going after ways to mitigate methane's impact on the atmosphere, I think is sort of the low-hanging fruit. Because for every ounce of effort that you put in, you're going to get literally 25 times the work, because that's the ratio of heat trapping capability between methane and CO2.
Wow, so capturing or preventing the methane from going into the air is a very important issue.
Or repurposing it. Lots of people are, taking what would have otherwise been leaked and then burning it for a use, which is, still a better idea than just letting it go to the atmosphere.
I mean, it seems, you said low-hanging fruit, it seems like a big opportunity. What are some of the bigger challenges and opportunities that you might point to?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to not look in my own backyard on that one, or this backyard right here. But aside from sort of the climate science, just cleaning up all of these idle wells is going to be a massive undertaking. I mean, we expect that it would cost something like $400 billion to clean up every single oil well. And that is just sort of an unconscionable amount of money. And so that to me is one of the major problems, is like, are we comfortable with leaving these things as they are in perpetuity, or are we going to do something about it?
Absolutely, yeah. Speaking of doing something about it on a challenge that big, what role do you think community can play in advancing a better world as well?
Yeah, so my team and I were just watching a video on what makes a good life. And I think that basically the conclusion of the video of this study done by Harvard was that relationships are what matters most. And I think that communities need to emphasize the amount of time spent in proximity to one another to really build a fulfilling life, which I know that has little to do with the energy industry or climate science or any of that. But I think if we collectively consider ourselves responsible for each other's health and well-being, I think communities could be a very powerful tool for sort of a massive improvement in quality of life and happiness.
Absolutely. So speaking of happiness, what would make you happy at the end of your life when the dust settles and you're looking back and you're, hoping to have accomplished something? What would you like to see?
Yeah, if my legacy is in any way connected to the conversion of hundreds of thousands, if not 1 million idle wells into, a clean, monitored form of gravity-based energy storage, that's about as much as one could hope for. I would love for that to be the result of my work and my team's work.
Absolutely. It's a challenge, a big challenge, and there's a lot of people involved, for example, in this community, and we're trying to make sure people aren't left behind. I'm curious, do you think that a just and equitable energy transition or transformation is possible, and if so, how?
Yeah, it's a great question. Renewell's space to fill in that transition is a kind of a beautiful one. All of the rigs, all of the electricians, all of the wellhead experts, all the people that make this field run, we are ready and willing to put them to work. It's all the same skills and all the same material, just for a different purpose. So when people talk about, we'll take oil patch workers and we'll retrain them and we'll give them this new life, I mean, the only thing better than that is to just not retrain them and then give them this better life, give them this new path to put the same skills to work. And so that's what we are. We try to embody repurposement on as many layers as we possibly can, and repurposing the people involved in the industry is just as much of an integral part of that mission as repurposing the wells, the electrical infrastructure, or any other part of the industry.
Yeah, I think it's actually a novel way to leverage what we already have and keep people busy, and really amazing work that you guys are doing. I appreciate you taking the time to sit and talk with us and share some of your thoughts with the green tech industry. I can't wait to see some of your, mechanical batteries or energy storage in motion, literally. But yeah, thanks for being on the show. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much, Les. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Destination for Innovation. Make sure to connect, collaborate, and create. See you soon.